Today's guest is an actor, writer, director, and producer. His movies include Letters for Annie, Memories from World War II, The White House's Fate, The Harvard Psychologist, From Bobby, Elizabeth Carter, the TV series Reflections, Project Chameleon, and more. His latest release, Tony Martone, just had its extremely successful premiere at the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. So without further ado, please welcome the extremely talented Joe McGee to the Claws Corner. Actually, I should say welcome back. This is your third time being on the show. You are the most I've ever had a guest on, except for our editor, John. So congratulations.
Well, thanks. I feel privileged, and I'm excited to return and talk with you again.
Well, that's why I love having you on the show, because you're always doing something. You always have something to talk about. And I did forget to mention, if you missed the premiere last night, we're recording this in early July 10th to be exact. You had the premiere the other night. You can see it on Amazon Prime right now. Is that correct?
Yes, you can check it out on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, just look up the movie. It's called Tony Martone, and you can see more details about it. It'll come up on the search. And it's basically about a story about two rival families, the Amatos and the Martones. The Martones, he's well established. He's in East Providence, Rhode Island. Basically, he owns everything, literally owns everything, City Hall, cops, FBI. And there's another family, Amato, who's got a lot of heat in New York. He's from New York. And basically, it's not going very well. He's got to get out of there. So he's trying to find a city where he can infiltrate, and a city where he knows, hey, I don't like this guy. So he knows who Tony Martone is, obviously. They know who people are. So he decides to basically go to East Providence to take over territory. Now, Martone doesn't do drugs, but Amato does. So he decides to smuggle drugs into his docks. And with Martone, he knows his docks. He has people, contacts. So he knows when this is happening. He discovers he's coming to East Providence. So that's how the movie kind of starts and elevates.
I love mob movies. For you, because you and I are both from the younger generation. So a lot of the older people, The Godfather is the best mob movie ever made. To me, it's Goodfellas. Goodfellas and Donnie Brasco. I love those two movies. What's your opinion?
It's funny how you said Donnie Brasco. I think it's very underrated. And when I talk to people, been on other shows, and that's exactly what I say is this actually, Donnie Brasco inspired my film. Actually, it's not based off of it, but I like the fact that FBI informants, and not just that, but like the way they dress. It's more like I want to say like an older generation, but they're more like a newer generation where they're not all in suits and ties. They kind of have cool shirts, obviously there's still a lot of dirty things going on. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to bring my own interpretation of this more new generation, because the story takes place in modern day, like this could happen like now. But I do use cool cars. I have like a 19, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's a 1949 Ford. It's got like this shark kind of fin grill. And we use that for a couple of the scenes. And, I like it's kind of like I want to say a trademark, but in most of all my movies, you're going to see a cool car. And I just like the eye candy effect. So that's my take on that.
It's funny you said that, because I did not hear you say that. I'm just going by my taste, and two other honorable mentions I forgot about: Carlito's Way and Casino. Those four.
Yeah, again, I love Casino, De Niro. I mean, it's just another favorite of mine. And Carlito's Way, I've seen it. I'm a little hazy on that, but definitely Casino. It's up there on my list.
Yeah. So, because I do. Well, here's my personal opinion. The second Godfather is a really good movie. The first one to me was just a bore. I'd have to watch it again. Maybe I saw it when I was younger and I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. Maybe I was too young to actually appreciate it. But 1990s when Goodfellas came out, the other ones came out a little bit. I was in my 20s. I was able to appreciate the movies a little bit more, and it was more my era. So I just, I think you and I are on the same page. And I love the fact that filmmakers like you are paying homage to those greats and putting your own take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to rewatch all the Godfather movies, but I think for me, one of my favorite scenes, it just shows you who they are. When I say who they are, they're well known, they're respected, they can do what they want. And I'm pretty sure this happened in the first Godfather. There's a scene where I think it might be the wedding scene, and the photographers start taking pictures like they're paparazzi, and the guy smashes the camera and he just throws wads of money at him like, hey, I did this, now F off, you know who I am, I'm paying for it, but this is my way of damaging and saying, you know, you don't mess with me. So, you know, stuff like that I thought was cool, and I just got to rewatch the whole series. So for the Godfather movies.
I think I'm the same way. So for Tony Martone, I mentioned you just had your premiere in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. From what I saw, the theater is gorgeous. It's huge. It has a huge screen, great seating. So tell me more about how you got that theater and how you got that theater. We'll talk about that.
Sure. So a few things about the theater. Built in 1926. It was just recently renovated. I want to say north of 2015, millions of dollars. But it's a great theater. It's beautiful. It's 1,088 seats. I mean, we're not talking just like a local theater, like, you know, down the block, like an AMC or even an old style one, a couple hundred seats. I mean, 1,088, that's big. Now the style of the theater, it's mainly used for theater, like plays, theatrical plays. But they do have a screen, you know, they bring out, and that's how, and I love just the history and the historic relevance of it. And not only that, but I mean, the following in my shoes, like, I think Cher's been there. I mean, a lot of just musicians, and just, it has a lot of history. And I thought that was important. And not only that, the story takes place in East Providence, Woonsocket's in Rhode Island. So I wanted a connection there. And I also look at other factors when I do premiere. I look at the radius of my actors, you know, who they are. In the film, I have people from everywhere, but mainly from Mass and Rhode Island. So I wanted something more up that way to hold the premiere, because I have a few people in Connecticut. We also have people in Pennsylvania. I mean, all over. So we had, I think from the Pennsylvania scene, we had 3 or 4 people actually come from PA to represent. And that was great seeing them. You know, we had people from New York, actors from New York come, actors from Mass, actors from Rhode Island. So just considering all that, it had to have been Rhode Island. And, you know, and we actually did Reflections here back in February 2021, I want to say, is we were there as well. But when we were there doing Reflections for the premiere, they only allowed me 100 people because it was a COVID restriction by the state. And that time I had 101 in my cast, so it couldn't be a public event. This time I have I think it was about 60 in my cast, and it could be a public event. So we made it public, sit with the actors, red carpet. We had our photographer take photos. We had a podcast, Oscara podcast. They're out of Massachusetts, I believe. They were there doing a live podcast during the show. And then we had backstage interviews that I was conducting, and then announcements on the stage. So very interactive. I mean, this is not just like, hey, I'm going to pay for a ticket, I'm seeing a movie. And then we had trailers. I brought other indie filmmakers. We showed their trailers. We did introductions. So this was just a world-class red carpet experience, like nothing, you know, you would see traditionally.
I love it. Yeah, you made it an experience. It's almost like Mann's Chinese Theater. The pictures I saw. And you know what I love about that? Because 2 of my favorite movies, I mean, I have many. I can mention Jaws and all these other movies, but 2 of my favorite movies are The Warriors and Jesus Christ Superstar. And I had the chance to watch the movie, The Warriors. They had a reunion at Coney Island with the entire cast. We watched the movie afterwards. And same thing with Jesus Christ Superstar. They had a reunion. I want to say it was their 50th reunion. And they showed the movie in New York City. I had a chance to watch the movie and meet everybody. I actually had the Ted Neely, who played Jesus, on the show before, and a couple of the Warriors as well. But just I loved how you do that, because it's not just you going to see a movie for your friend. It's, wow, I get a chance to hang out with the actors. You see trailers of other independent filmmakers, and you have the red carpet, a live podcast going on. It's like, you're a movie star yourself, walking down the red carpet, having fun. Like, hey, how do you like the movie? And so I love the fact you put so much work into it. So did you know the owners of this theater prior, from Project Chameleon?
I didn't know them. Again, with that particular project, it's kind of the same thing. We had actors of kind of varying states, but I picked it just because of the proximity of the actors, where they lived, about where they're from. And I met Kathy. Kathy's the owner of the stadium, and I built a relationship with Kathy and Dennis. Dennis does the tech, the sound, and, you know, running the file, and all great people. And I knew back in 2021 I would return at some point. Here we are again, back in their beautiful theater. And what's good about it, whether you have an old school marquee with like, the letters they actually have to put up by hand. This particular one, even though it was 1926, the marquee must have been renovated at some point. It's digital, so it's a nice digital file that kind of broadcasts, very bright. So it's basically an artwork. I sent them an artwork file, and then they just broadcast that. So they were running my Tony Martone date on there, I think 2 weeks prior to my event, just getting word out there. We were in the newspaper. The Call from Woonsocket wrote up an article about us. That was about 1 week before the premiere. And then also 99.5, 1240 AM in Woon Radio out in Woonsocket. We were on there twice. So, I mean, we were doing a lot of promo, specifically in Rhode Island, just because, hey, we're in Rhode Island. Let's get the people to know we're out here. And I did. What's good about that, I met a lady during the premiere. She said, "Hey, Joe, you know how I'm here?" I said, "No, how you're here? I heard you on the radio." And she heard me on the radio, and here she is. So we know that works. We know radio works. We get the news out to the people, and and it's great. It's great.
Fortunately, I'm a little late to the party. This is after the premiere, but still, we get a chance to talk about how great it was. And from the pictures that I see, if I'm friends with you on Facebook, I can see that there was a lot of people there. Did you have a full count?
Well, I mean, 1,088, that's really, really hard to do. I mean, I'd have to do like some door-to-door knocking, cold calling. I do a lot of promoting, but I'm not that level of godness, or, have my wizards do that for me. So I don't know the full count right away. I'm waiting for the box office to tell me, but if I would have a guess, seeing who was there, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 300-400 people, something like that.
That's great. That's something to be proud of. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because last time I talked to you, you lived in Connecticut. Do you still live in this area, or are you in Rhode Island now?
Yeah, no, I'm not in Rhode Island. No, so I'm between Jersey and Connecticut. So when I'm in Connecticut a lot, I'm also working with my dad on the music, because he's already in Old Wethersfield. So I was just up there earlier today, and kind of talking about things with my mom, and we would work up there in his room. So kind of between Jersey and Connecticut a lot. But lately it seems like I'm going to be over here, because I'm doing just a couple more things over this way, and some scouting I'm going to be looking at for 2 new projects that are up in post-production right now. So there's going to be a lot of scenes that we're going to do specifically in Connecticut for these projects.
Are you the scout location or location scout? Do you go and pick the locations yourself, or do you have somebody do that for you? How did you figure? I know you wrote the script. Do you write, or let me ask you this way.
Yeah.
Do you write the script with the location in mind, or do you write the script and say, let me find something that looks just like I have it imagined in my head?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm pretty detail oriented, very meticulous on what I want, but it's all written for me to figure out. So once it's written, then I go to work. Hey, what venue, what place would be the most appealing to bring this vision to life? And that's kind of what I do is I work on that. I also have another associate, Bill Gannon. He helps me on scouting. If I come to a dead end, he's got a lot of resources. He helps me out. We did have some hiccups though with Tony Martone. In November, we were supposed to film a strip club scene. This scene location changed 4 times, and I'll tell you the reason. I met this guy. I went down there. I went to the strip club in Woolkit, and I went in there. He's like, "Hey, $5 cover." I'm like, "No, I'm not here for that. Where's the owner?" And I go talk to the owner. I go, "Hey, I'm Joe McGee. I'm doing this, doing that. We'd love to have, He said, "Yeah, sure. Just let me know when." So we made a date, and then like literally the night before, I get a phone call. I got COVID. This was all the heat of COVID, right? November 2021. So we had to reschedule. Then I got back to him, and he's like, "Yep, I'm good. Let's do it in December." Because when you wait, there's other variables, because it might be good for one actor, but then another actor might be working, because a lot of them aren't full-time actors. They have they have day jobs. So in December, we had to wait till December just because I couldn't get everyone on board until then. And the 2 weeks of COVID, 5 days, whatever the hell it was then. And then, so we get the new date, December, and the day before, the other actor gets COVID. So I had to push it back. And then I went to the same club, and they're like, "Oh, I can't, I'm going to be out of town." and the other owners, they don't want anybody over here early because I don't want to film it when they're open. I want to control the environment, bring my own people. So it didn't work out. So I got another club scene ready to go. Then I got COVID. So I had to reschedule again. Now here we are in, I think it's February almost. Then it changed again. They couldn't accommodate. So that's some of the things you deal with is finding the right location, but the variables you can't control happen like that,
Yeah, definitely. By the time you actually film the scene, the actors were 20 years older.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's like the progression. If you're a Stranger Things following, look how young they were. Look how old they are now.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, maybe they all had COVID. That was just season one. It took them that long to film it.
That's right. That's right.
But I want to speak about the actors because I do know that some of the actors, a mutual friend of ours, Mark Withers, is in a lot of your movies, and you have some other people that are in the same. Do you have open call auditions, or do you know the actors in advance and say, all right, I think you'd be perfect for this part. I'd like to have you play Tony Martone. I'd like to have you play this gangster.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, it's a kind of a mixed bag sometimes because, there might be roles where I know people are good at. I always try to have open auditions on my website, McGeeProductions.us. Even now, I think I have something on there for open auditions right now, but I'll have everyone go through the process is, hey, you're interested in this role. Send me a headshot, send me your IMDb link. And then once I collect names, discover who I have of interest, then I do a kind of a video audition where I'll send them aside. They got to put their emotion into it and really own it. And then I'll make a decision. But in Tony Martone, there are some repeats. We've had other people we've worked with before. Nicky Scars from PA, he's back in it. Mario Canero played Tony Martone. He was in Reflections. He's back. Mark Wither is back. But a lot of new faces. I have Gio Toscani, who's a really great actor. I call him the son of Joe Pesci because he sounds just like a mini Joe Pesci, and very very thick Italian accent. So first time meeting him, he really slammed it, really took it. There's a scene where we're supposed to beat a guy who might be a rat in the movie, so they start punching him, they're kicking him, and this was all improv. I didn't tell him to do this, but it worked so well. We kept it in. There was a shovel to the right of the door. He picked it up and he went to town and started whacking the hell out of him with a shovel. But it worked so well, we kept it in. So I mean, just those moments when you're in the moment, you're acting, you're feeling it. You just do things like that, and it worked out. So he's new. David Torres, Fall River, Mass. He's another actor that I've known of, seen him in projects. We brought him into Tony Martone, and I met Danny Feynman, who played Ray Amato. He definitely looks the part. He's kind of got that face and a really great actor as well. So many new faces, many returning faces for this one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a chance to see the movie myself because when you had the premiere, I'm just getting over COVID myself, and you had some issues with Amazon Prime, which by the time this is released, the movie will be on Amazon Prime. So the second it does, I'm going to check it out because I saw the trailer, I see all the stills, it looks great. And you know what I like about your movies? That they're full of suspense, they're full of action, but they're also very funny. You have a lot of funny elements in your movies. I like how you combine all those. Yeah,
I do. Like this particular one, Tony Martone, is I wrote a scene. It's really funny. So there's a lot of serious. There's deaths. There's blood war. But there's a scene where Mark Wither, he plays Johnny. He's like the underboss to Ray Amato. He's like his second guy in command if everything would ever happen. And he's kind of like a freak, right? He's really into National Geographic magazine. He likes, watching those lion videos, tore open animals and just fish. So there's a scene where Ray Amato says, hey, well, Johnny goes first. Remember I was telling you about smuggling drugs. So Johnny goes, hey, boss, we got a problem. This dock worker guy's, eyeballing me, giving me this look. And, what should we do? He's like, well, maybe we should follow him. And he's like, do you think he works for Martone? He's like, I'm not sure. Keep an eye out for him. He's like, well, maybe we should kill him, but make it look like a freak accident. So Johnny goes, I know just what to do. And he's like, you scare me when you say crap like that. What do you mean? He's like, well, I think I'm going to get Nicky to get me a swordfish, yeah, out of the ocean. And I'm going to harpoon him in the private parts. And he's like, how the hell is a swordfish going to jump out of the ocean and harpoon someone in the private parts. And he goes, blow. So you're going to give the swordfish cocaine, so some funny stuff, and, and he's like, you're the dumbest, sickest F guy I know. And, so we're making his character like this sick, like if you watch like Sons of Anarchy, I think it's Tibbs, where he's like Nazi, that he gets in fights, he bites people's ears off. So he's got that edge to him where he doesn't care. He's going to do all these weird things,
It sounds like he's been watching too many Steve Irwin videos.
Yeah, well, there is a line about that. God bless their family, but I did put a line in there that I did mention that. I mentioned that he goes, I think Johnny says something like, that Steve Irwin guy, a stingray ended him, so why not? So I do say it, but, you got to understand it's fiction. We're not making fun of people. We're just incorporating, content.
Well, it's funny because without even me knowing that, I made that joke up. So we have a very similar sense of humor, and I love that because so I think that there's, for me, and I tell people all the time, as you know, I used to be a stand-up comedian, and I said you can always make everything funny. It's how you do it, and you have a great way of combining, like I said, all the elements of action, suspense, and humor. So you mentioned a little bit how actors can improv. Do you give them free reign, or do you have to pull them back every once in a while and say, you know what, just to stick to the script?
Yeah, that's a good question. With this Tony Martone, there are a few scenes where I give him free reign, but generally speaking, it was pretty on par. But there's another project I also premiered in Rhode Island. I remember I mentioned the trailers. I'm also the founder of the Nutmeg Film Festival. We cater to finding other filmmakers, best filmmakers in Connecticut, just to recognize their talent because, I want people to tell stories and hear about it. But my point about this is I did a promo video called Dancing in the Dark, based on Ed Sheeran's song Perfect. When lyrics are dancing in the dark, barefoot in the grass and all that. But there's a love doctor in it giving advice. So I called 4 actors and they didn't know what they're doing. I said, okay, here's the situation. You're going to talk to the love doctor. And Bill Gannon was in this. I said, Bill, night terrors. Tell her about your night terrors, all improv. So the first 3 minutes of that movie, all improv, and they really landed it. So I would say, hey, night terrors. I would say, hey, personal space, or I would say, hey, talk about, she drinks and doesn't pay attention to me. So whatever it is, and it was all improv, and it worked out well. So first 3 minutes, it was an 8-minute short, just to promo the Nutmeg Film Festival. So from 0 to 3 minutes, it's all improv, and then 3 minutes to 8 minutes was the rest of the script. So I do things like that when appropriate,
Do you ever hear of the actor Vincent Price?
Of course. So very horror related. Yeah, of course.
Yep. The reason I bring this up for a reason, because I interviewed his daughter, Victoria Price, and she was talking about how it was Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and him in a movie. No, sorry, Peter Lorre, Boris Karloff, and him. And Peter Lorre loved to improv. Boris Karloff hated it. He kept yelling at the director, and Vincent Price was basically in the middle. He goes, I can improv if I want. I can go with the flow, but I can also stick by the script. So they had to compromise because Peter Lorre loved to go off script, and Boris Karloff said, I just can't act with him. I need to follow the script. I'm very structured. So the reason I bring that up was, did you ever have any issues with that where one actor is going on, and the other one who's a little bit more structured says, whoa, how am I going to react to that? I'm not good at improv.
No, not really. I mean, these guys, they're really, they feed off of each other. We haven't really had a problem with that. I mean, there's other things where we might have a problem where, maybe they're forgetting a line, I might pull them back, say, hey, do a rehearse or do a dry run. And then they'll get it, after like 2-3 takes. But nothing like that where, one doesn't like improv, one is all about, no, I haven't had that problem, no.
So for you, because I know some directors like Stanley Kubrick used to do 150 takes, and I even exaggerate. In The Shining, Jack Nicholson was quoted as saying that one scene where he was typing, I think he did that 150 times. I talked to an actor who worked with Clint Eastwood and said, basically, one take, let's move on. Are you somewhere in between?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll do an establishing shot, maybe, whatever it could be, whether they're walking to someone or whatever, get out of the car, get in the car, and then we'll do our close-ups. And then I'll do a kind of a very, one, especially if there's dialogue, I'll get straight on, and then I'll do the over shoulder the other way, and then I'll do a side shot. So generally speaking, I'll do a scene. Usually, I mean, I'm not doing 100, 200 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. If the dialogue wasn't solid, or I felt I didn't feel that, I might have done it a few more times, but I've never done 100. I know in the new Top Gun movie, 800 hours of footage for that whole movie. I mean, that's insane to work with. But you got to understand, I mean, they had a lot of just aerial stuff and just, a lot of stuff going on with that film. But yeah, I'm pretty basic. Just get my close-ups, my wide, my establishments, and if it looks good, I move on.
Well, you mentioned Top Gun, and I saw the making of that, and they were saying, the director was saying that Tom Cruise and the other actors would put the camera in the fighter plane, and at the end of the scene, he would just come back and say, "I hope it came out good. I hope it came out good," because basically all the flying sequences were filmed without him having any control at all. The director, he just put the camera in there, and they had to react. And you know what's funny? Just a little shout out to my brother, who was actually friends with Mark. That's how I met Mark. Those two went to college together. He was a fighter pilot, and his squadron is the one that was in that movie for Top Gun.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I did see the making too. I'm a big Tom Cruise fan in general. Yeah. They use a Sony Venice camera. It's one of the new top-of-the-line models. It's very portable. And yeah, they really gave him free reign. It's a $38,000 camera base, and then with all the lenses, and you're up in the 100,000s easily. But yeah, that footage looked really, really nice. And they said, obviously, they took, well, a lot of people don't know, but Tom Cruise, he flies in real life, right? That P-51 Mustang in the movie, that's his. Yep. And he really wanted to fly more in the F-22 Raptor, I think it was. But they didn't let him fly like everything, because obviously there's, hey, you just crashed the $12 million plane or whatever. But he even told the director, hey, I don't if this CGI crap in here, I don't want to do it. And they agreed, but it wasn't totally agreed, because they did block him out of a lot of those live scenes. Yeah. The P-51, he does that all the time. But Tom, we don't want you in the jet. You can do the green screens, but
Well, also, it's an insurance thing, because I know that, an example would be when Jackie Chan was at his height of popularity in America. In Japan, or in Asia, he would do all his own stunts. In America, they said, yeah, the insurance isn't going to cover that. If you get hurt, we don't want you to sue us and this and that. So there was probably a lot of restrictions on him, even though I know he is known for doing all his own stunts, or a lot of his stunts, especially in Mission Impossible and other movies. So I bet you there's a lot of, because I know that a lot of, like I said, Jackie Chan is just one example where he came over to America and said, "Come on, I do it all the time." And I said, "Nope, you're not allowed. If you get hurt, the movie's over." So I bet you especially with Tom Cruise is such a huge star, if he dies, there goes not only the movie, but there's lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. So there's a lot of that going on too. This movie, Tony Martone, is very authentic and very genuine. Not only because you mentioned your father helped with the music, but you also had an Italian composer create original music.
Absolutely right. Now, so with the movie, I wanted to be as authentic with the Italian flair as I could. Alberto Belvia, hopefully I said that right. He's from Italy. He's got a team over there, and I met him obviously online, not in person, but a great guy. We talked about it, and kind of gave him some examples of like the tone that I want. So my opening intro, we call it Tony Martone Blues. So if you watch the movie, when you get to see it on Prime, that first 2-minute intro, it's very, very instrumental, very jazzy, kind of bluesy feel. But it's got these, like not like comedic, but like up tempo instrument where you feel like you're in Italy. You got these strings. We got I think clarinet on a couple of them. We got a piano, just brass, a lot of the brass, saxophone. Just all kinds of just beautiful tones in the film. And he put together great music to reflect that. And then my father, who's in a lot of my other projects, I wanted him involved as well. Not that he couldn't do Italian music, but if you have a guy living in Italy, he knows Italy. You go with the guy that knows Italy. I don't know what else to say, but So, but with my father, I wanted him, you know, he's more American contemporary. He could do everything, but he did the strip club scene, because you got to understand, like I mentioned before, when you're in the strip club, you know, I don't want no mainstream music playing. You know, there's copyright problems there, right? I can't have it. So, literally, when these girls are dancing, these actresses that we had for the dance, there's no music, but my dad created the song called "Move," and it's very electronic, up tempo, and it fits so well. So he did that one. He did some other, like, after the intro, there's a guy who's in Dirtybird, Mass. It's Fitchburg. It's kind of like a joke. We call it Dirtybird. You know, there's, you know, obviously big drugs over there, kind of like with Patterson, New Jersey problem and all that crap. But in Dirtybird, so he's from Rhode Island, Martone's are from Rhode Island, but they're doing like something in Dirtybird. And these thugs come up, like, you know, they own the street. They mess with a guy. They don't know he's a Martone guy. They know who Martone is. But my dad created this kind of like, you know, just upbeat kind of tempo music for that. And he's got a couple other pieces in the movie that gave it that. So we got like Italian and kind of like American modern flair, because you got to remember what I said before. I definitely want the Italian flair, but I want that more new generation mafia. So with his style of music, I think that really paints that picture for that.
I love it. So what'd you do? Did you send the files of the completed film to the composer in Italy, or did you give it to him bits and pieces at a time so you could put it all together?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I would send him, like, you know, I got a 2-minute run of, you know, this scene. I'll send it to Alberto, and he'll basically write the music. He'll give me a high quality song. I'll plug it in, and, you know, and then we're good. So that's how that came about. And I got a little scared though, because I didn't want him to fill out. So I wanted to never mailed anything to Italy before. I went down to the post office. I wanted to sign some posters for Alberto and his team. And the guy was just questioning me. They have these weird custom questions about like CDs and movies and artwork. You know, I'm like, well, it's my artwork. It's not like it's a Metallica poster or album I don't own. I mean, I own this. So I was trying to explain it to him that it's a movie, not a movie poster, but my movie. Like, this is my movie, and, you know, I made it. It's not like I'm giving him like rare or other, like, you know, mainstream stuff. He's like, well, all right, we'll write it in there. We hope we didn't get rejected. So he's like 5 to 10 days, and I'm like, I'm just hoping he'll get it. And in about 12 days, he's like, yeah, Joe, I got it. I'm like, whoa, thank God. Like, I had no idea all these custom rules about what you can send and what you can't send, you know?
That's odd. I wonder if it has anything to do with, because I love Italian horror movies like Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento, and some other ones. And I always read that in Italy, they really don't have any copyright laws, and they just take American movies and completely rip them off. And I'll give you an example. When Jaws came out, you have to check it out. It goes under different names, but the main name that I've seen it in the theater was Great White. Universal actually pulled the movie because it's just so bad. It's hilarious. But then, you know, Lucio Fulci came out with Zombie, which is Night of the Living Dead, and other ones. But really? I wonder if that had something to do with it, where they were worried about.
Maybe. But you know what? You're right about that. What I'm sick and tired of is Hollywood doing that.
Yes.
I love all kinds of films. I love French movies. There's a French movie called District B13. Not sure if you've seen it, but it's parkour. There's a lot of jumping. And these guys are the real deal. I mean, they're jumping off buildings, or, you know, just running. But the reason I bring that particular film up, it's a French movie. I think it came out in 2015. I could be off, you know, plus or minus either way. But an American TV show came out a little after. It's called Chuck. It's an IT related one. But the opening sequence to that movie, they did some parkour where he kind of like jumped through like a high window. The first 2 minutes of what they were doing was an exact copy of District B13 opener. And I caught that. I'm like, you guys, really? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just watching some French movies and nobody will know. Nobody will know. And like, I know, I can see it. I mean, maybe I'm the only one that noticed. I don't know. But they do it so often, and they throw it under the rug, and they don't think people know. But Joe McGee knows. You know, I know what you guys did. So, I mean, it happens too often, like you said, you know?
Yeah, well, I've caught it several times myself too, because as I mentioned, I love foreign movies and I watch a lot of them. And now maybe if it was the 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, it'd be so much easier to get away with. But now you can see what's going on. When you go on the internet, YouTube has something. You can download movies. You can stream movies. I mean, DVDs. I have so many foreign DVDs. They have even back in the 90s when Hollywood Video and Blockbuster, they would have foreign sections. So it's just that it's so much harder to rip people off and say, or rip other countries off and say, what are you talking about? How'd you find out? They'll never know about this, because there's definitely ways that it's much easier to see other movies from other countries now. So it's going to be harder to rip them off. But yeah, I've caught that several times. Like, wait a minute, this is exactly what I saw. Unfortunately, some people do that and they think they can get away with it, but they always get caught.
Yeah, you're right. No originality. And what also busts my bubble is I read all my own original work, right? I'm not gonna like, hey, rip this off or do a fan film. Not that I'm gonna bash anybody that does like a fan film. There's a lot of popularity with it. I don't think I would ever do one because I'd like to stay in my own path being original. But even spinoffs in a certain way, Robin Williams' Jumanji in '95, when they took the spinoff with The Rock, I love The Rock, but doing it a video game version, they should have kept that alone and not messed with it, And now look what we have. I think there's 2-3 new Jumanji movies, but the way with the board game, they should have just left it alone. And, this makes, why take an idea and twist it from a board game into a video game? Just write your own original. I mean, I don't know,
No, not even that. They do that, but also now everything's a remake. Now it's a reboot. Now it's a remix. Yeah. Now it's a redux. It's just there's nothing original. And even somebody said, it might have been Kevin Smith. It might have been him, but what he said is so true. All they're doing is buying the name. They can really give a shit less about the content. All they care about is getting people into the theater. They make their money, get that out of the theater, they make the next one. So they don't really care about the content at all. All they care about is getting people in to fill the seats. And it's sad because the days of, that's what I'm so glad there's filmmakers like you, and there's a lot of other independent filmmakers that you could probably name that actually still care about the quality of cinema. But there's so many, I'm going to go back a little bit. It's not the filmmakers. It's more the studio heads that don't care. All they care about is the money. So there's probably a lot of filmmakers that say, wait, I don't really want this. But then they throw money at them like, all right, well, this will pay for the mortgage on the house. And I can make the movie I want to make next time.
Yeah, you're right. And I heard the other day, I'm a big fan of 80s movies, all kinds of just different ones. The Monster Squad, I'll name a couple, but one particular one that made me upset, I heard they're planning to do a reboot on, and if they are, shame on them. A lot of people don't know this. This is a Disney movie, Flight of the Navigator. They're talking about doing a reboot, which they should not touch that. That movie was a classic with the time travel, the speed of light, losing age. I mean, come on, just leave it alone. Don't reboot that.
I heard Jaws, and I also heard The Warriors. And please, for the love of God, leave those movies alone.
Yeah,
they were perfect for their time. Late 70s, mid to late 70s. Those movies were perfect. I mean, maybe they can make it a little bit glossier. Maybe but it's not going to look as good. It's not going to be, even though they can make the shark look as it's jumping right out into your living room when you watch it. I'd rather have the old effect, Bob Matty putting it in the ocean, letting it sink, and they have to show the fin for half the movie because the shark wouldn't work. It's like that's what made it so great, and it made the movie more suspenseful. It made the story better. So,
you're absolutely right.
Why can't they just take an idea, leave it alone, come out with something new?
Yeah, like for me, I love Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park 1, epic.
Yes.
But what had happened is after the first, I don't even know how many they have, but they did it because of popularity. But what made me mad is they were doing them just. I think I wasn't the second one. It might have been the third or the fourth one. I forget the name of it, but it was either the third or the fourth one. They were actually filming it when the script wasn't even finished yet. And this was in trivia on IMDb. This goes back to what we're talking about is, hey, I got a Jurassic Park. It's the name that sells. All right, let's get everyone together. We're going to bring them to the location. We'll have a script ready. And the script's not ready. Everyone's here. Like, okay, we'll make something up. I mean, that's what they're doing. It's just ridiculous.
Right. This is a good follow-up question to that because it seems like a lot of people are going direct to streaming. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're in this new generation world of, where before we were kind of just slowly adapting to streaming. With COVID, I think that opened up a lot of doors where people, love the theater. Now they didn't feel safe. Maybe now they're a stream believer, just like, ties into going to work. Well, I work from home. I never didn't want to do that, but I was forced to. Now I like it. So I think it's growing on us quicker than we want to admit, and it could take over, bigger than what it is. I mean, some people are even getting rid of cable. They're just, getting their Netflix, their Hulu's, just dropping cable. I think the demand is there, the people are there, and I think it could be something that it's going to be the new norm. I mean, remember when you first subscribed to Netflix many years ago? It was, hey, I want to stream plus the DVD. They would mail you DVDs still, right? But and then they finally took that away because it's, hey, we're in this new era. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe movie theaters will go away. Maybe there'll be, an option where you're streaming, on this huge screen from your home where they have a live feed and you're streaming that way watching it, or they're just doing like what HBO Max does. Is a lot of the movie theater movies are just going there. Or look what Paramount's doing. I think I had Sonic Hedgehog 2 went to the theaters and then it was on Paramount like 3-4 weeks later, and there's other Vudu, which is part of Fandango, owned by them, is they're offering a lot of the movie theaters now that are out there. You could buy them like either the same day or next day. I mean, I think this is taking over. I really do.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I still love the theater experience. I'm an AMC A-lister, which means I pay $25 a month. I see 3 movies a week if I want to, every week. And it's the same price. And I almost got rid of it one time because I said, you know what, I haven't gone to a movie in a month. I bought one ticket for an IMAX. It was $23.50. I said, whoa. I said $25 for 3 movies a week every week. So I kept it, and I go to movies all the time, and I just love the watching it on the big screen, the sound, the surround sound, the popcorn, the whole experience. Oh, yeah. And the reason I bring that up was because Spielberg, several years ago, you probably know about this, he was angry because a movie that was on Netflix was either up for an Oscar or won an Oscar, and he goes, that's a made-for-TV movie. It shouldn't even be eligible for the Oscars. And I kind of agree with him on that. That's why I wanted your opinion. So I know it's the way to go.
About that, but which one was it? Do you remember what he was talking about?
I can't remember now. It was two years ago. I know it was a black and white movie. It was a foreign movie. It's just, I really can't. After this interview is over, I will get you the name because I have to look it up. But if you look up the Spielberg mad at, made for TV Netflix movies, I'm sure it'll pop up because he was really making us think about it, because the movie was in the theater for one weekend, so it would be eligible to win an Oscar. And he goes, this is not a theatrical movie. He goes, they should separate the two. And I do see what he's saying, but I also see what you're saying in a way where I'll play devil's advocate, because it's the way things are going. It's just, I hope movies don't go away, because I love going to the theater. I love seeing it on the big screen. It's just not the same sitting here on some people even watch movies on their phone. It's like, how can you get any enjoyment out of that? You have to see it. Like, perfect example is your Tony Martone. And seeing it on the big screen, everybody's watching.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely right. I can't agree with you more. There's something about that whole experience of, being there. But I will say this, I think there are times where by accident, due to time constraints, that we're forced to watch something, you want to watch something like a movie and have all those experiences, but sometimes you need it to pass time. What I mean by that is you're on an airplane, right? They do watch movies, you have a selection, and you're kind of just forced to watch it on a tiny screen or stream it from your phone just because, hey, I got a 4-hour flight or whatever. I mean, it passes time, but you just miss out on that experience. So you're absolutely right.
Well, no, just like the older days where it would be in the theaters, and then maybe, at first it took Jaws, I think, 3 years to come out on the VHS. It took such a long time. Now movies are almost available immediately, or like as you said, a month later. So I wouldn't mind that, but be in the theater first, then go to streaming services. Then, but unless, sometimes they have the made for Netflix and made for Hulu movies. Those are okay, but just, I think that they should discern between, all right, well, this is a theatrical Oscar nominee. This is a streaming nominee. And just but they should do something like that. But I think those services are there, because I watch movies all the time on that as well. But because he made a great point. He said, pretty soon going to the theater is going to be as expensive as going to Broadway. If you have a family of 5, it almost is that expensive now, but
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there is, definitely a huge difference, and we do even do find a lot of theater actors for converting them into from theater actors to movie actors. For me, I think theater actors have it harder because you're live. I mean, you rehearse, prior, but you're in that moment. There's no cutting. There's no re-blocking the shot. There's no do-overs. I mean, if you mess up, you got to be in that moment, get your feet back up, and go. When you're in a movie, you cut this. Hey, look at this, look at that. I mean, with a theater actor, I think you're more polished, and we've seen a lot of success where, movie act or a theater actor never did a movie, and they fit it into so well because they're used to all of these rehearsals and just putting in a near perfection performance in their mind where they're not going to mess up. So they've adapted well, but I think they have it much harder than movie actors.
Yeah, definitely. So with this movie, I mean, you do it perfectly because you have the theatrical, but now you also have that deal with Amazon. How did the deal with Amazon Prime come up?
Yeah, so I mean, with that, with Amazon, it's a good thing. With it, the problem with Amazon, they're changing all the time. It almost seems like every other day it's like a breeze comes by and tickles the back of your neck, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. I remember how to do this. Then next week you go back on and they have another rule. Like Amazon Prime, I think maybe sometime a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, their whole mission statement or original was, we cater to indie filmmakers, right? We want to help them, we want to support them. But it seems like now it's kind of they do, but they don't. So I'm happy we have a vehicle to do that. But for what I mean by that is, several years ago, if I was an indie filmmaker, I was working on a documentary, I was working on a short film, I'd have the ability to engage Amazon and say, hey, I want to get this submitted. And they would allow you to do that. Now, like I said, they change the rules all the time. Now you can't even get a short film on there for consideration or a documentary because they don't do unsolicited submissions for those particular categories. The only one they do now is features, and it keeps changing. So features, they allow, you can submit and get approval to do that, and they'll consider it, they'll review it, and they'll approve it, or they won't approve it if they don't like it. But like that's what I mean by it's just weird is they were just whole catering to everything, get your content out there. Now it's just like it's evolving where they're getting very tricky because it's not just anything now, it's only features they're accepting.
So when you had Reflections, Chameleon, was that originally a feature and turned into a TV series?
Well, it was an original movie. It was written as an original movie, but it adapted into a TV series. And I submitted it. I think also that's the other exception is you can do TV series still right now on Amazon Prime for consideration. But if you have a film that's under 40 minutes, they consider that a short, and they won't allow you to submit that to them. But they consider anything over 40 or greater a feature in their eyes. And again, this is all debated because film festivals, a lot of them have their own rules, what they consider a feature versus a short based on runtime, and so there's that. So I'm just very happy that we're going to get it to go out there. We originally had it set to go live the day after the premiere, but I pulled it down. I stopped the publishing because, as you know, my father passed away, and yeah, thank you. And I decided I wanted to do in the end credits to put like a little tribute in love and memory. I got him in there because he's a big part of this, and this was like literally his last movie. He's working with me, so I stopped that. I re-added the file, and then now it's going to be in queue. Well, it's out there now. As you're listening to this now, you can watch it. But when I made the change, I had to wait another 3-4 days for it to publish. Because with Amazon Prime, once you get the approval, you could do an immediate publish, meaning is they'll just publish it out right away, or you can set a date, in advance. Like maybe I don't want it to post like immediately once they do all their quality checks. I can set a date, whatever. So you do have that option, which is kind of nice.
Well, as I mentioned to you off the air, we're going to dedicate this episode to your dad.
Yes, that's very, very thankful for that. He'd like that. I mean, I mean, for him, his latter part of his life was music. I mean, he was got like electronic background. He would do electronics for military companies, the Sidewinder missiles. He would actually do the system boards on those. So very smart man. He's very into electronics. So he would even sell replica guitar pedals to even celebrities. I mean, they would buy from him. He would build CB radios, make them himself. Then he kind of got sick and he couldn't walk anymore, or needed help. So he got out of the corporate world or the business world, and he decided, hey, I want to do music. And he's graduated from Full Sail University, which is a huge school in Florida, to do movies, big sound sets out there. And he did that a latter part of his life. So for the past many years, I think it's been, I don't know, 3-4 years, we've been working together on music, and that's what he enjoyed doing. So, if you're going to go out, why not go out and do what you enjoy,
Yeah. I'm glad he at least had a chance to go out doing what he loved. So I'm happy
Absolutely.
about that part. Yeah. Well, you mentioned, let's go back to the movies. You mentioned with Amazon Prime, standards and practices, you have to submit it and they check. What are they looking for? What wouldn't they accept?
Well, here's the thing. This is the big mystery. You can Google this. Nobody really seems to know the answer to it. Is when they reject you, and they can and will reject you. I've been rejected once. They won't tell you why. They just say, "Hey, thank you for your submission, but your submission was rejected. You cannot appeal this decision." This is like their verbiage. Like, so we're like, well, what the hell does that mean? Did they not like it? So when that happens, you get an expert to critique it. So I did have a film that was rejected on Amazon Prime, and we sent it over to a graduate, a very famous director now in Hollywood. He's done movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, very, very big deal, big name guy. I'm not going to mention him, but he reviewed it and he gave me 3 things to change. You're not supposed to change and resubmit, but here's what he did. He told me that my first title choice wasn't really reflective on the main character or a theme. Maybe change it to something more generalized. He said it could be that. He said it could be this movie has a lot of gore that might not be appropriate for an independent filmmaker. There's this one scene where the actor basically takes out mason jars. He's a serial killer, and and these look like the real deal. I mean, there's a woman's breast in there, intestines. He's actually making a sandwich and eating it with this music on, right? So it's very, very dark, right? So he's like, well, that scene might be a little much. Maybe you want to cut that. And then what was the other one? There was I forget what the other was, but whatever it was, these 3 things we changed. I rebranded the title, took out that scene that I mentioned about the eating the intestines, and I rebranded the name. I resubmitted it, and guess what? It posted. So it's a mystery. We don't know why. They just don't like something, but they won't tell you what it is.
Right? Because then how can you correct it? I mean, luckily you had some help with this, and he recommended. But some people are going to say, "What do I need to fix?" I mean, look at people like Quentin Tarantino, Tobe Hooper, Wes Craven. You can find them all on Amazon Prime, and just the scene, one scene you mentioned, they've had something like that or way worse, but they're okay because they make money.
What I think about it is I think they're established for doing that type of, and I'm not really established yet. And then to your point, there was this Amazon original where this whole guy's head got decapitated. Totally decapitation, and that's out there. But I think it's really about they don't really know who you are. I'm not like I'm like a Hollywood director. I'm not a Tony Scott, who passed away recently, or what I mean. Like I'm not a big name yet, so maybe this might be too much. So it could be that, but yeah, if you Google it, they really don't tell you why, and it's a mystery. So I would just say if that should happen to you, just seek out help if you have resources in the industry. Very high resources that can really watch it and give some possible things that it could be. I mean, we're just throwing darts at the wall, but it worked for us where those 3 things could have been it. It could have been one thing. It could have been all of them. We don't know, but we made those changes.
I love the fact how you said, I didn't make it big yet. I love that. It's gonna happen. Right. And I could say I had him on the claws corner when.
Exactly.
I want to talk about how you make your movies a little bit, because we mentioned a little bit for the locations, and you said that you go into one example you used was the strip club in Woolgate. You get the permission. Has there ever been a time where you said, I really don't have time to get permission, let's just film it and get the hell out of here before the cops come?
Yeah, you hear stories about that.
Yes, they do.
It does happen more often than you think. Where I try to be the best advocate in doing things the right way. For Tony Martone, I was pretty hard by the book. I had my liability insurance for any venue that needed it for $1 million with your address on it in case we burnt down the building accidentally, which of course we're not going to do, but but it does happen. I mean, for me, I haven't had that problem, and I just won't risk it. I did have another filmmaker in Massachusetts who told me a story once, and I do this all this time. You ever hear of, you're at the local watering hole, you're at the bar, you're telling stories, about, I mean, when people hear, they don't really know how the conversation started, but he's talking about this murder scene and, what they're doing to this girl and where their body's going to be. And they thought literally they were planning a murder. They called the cops on them. They came into the bar and they were talking to the filmmaker. It happens. In another case, I know a friend, the New Hampshire actress, she told me this story where she was rehearsing for a horror movie, but she wanted to get her screams down like so accurately. She was just screaming in the middle of the night. So the neighbor called the cops. They went over there because she was screaming so loud and asked her if everything was okay. She had explained, I'm an actress, I'm sorry, I'm practicing. So, stuff like that it's very world acceptable because, we talk about all these things, but when people hear them, they might be taken out of context.
Would you ever hear of the movie Cannibal Holocaust? It's an Italian movie.
Yes, I've seen stills and like video clip. I haven't actually watched it, but they really say that is a real cult classic because of what it is. I mean, it's so just nasty stuff in there. I mean, I haven't watched it yet, but I hear people talking about it.
Well, I saw it years ago, and I have several copies of it. And I actually met some of the cast members at these conventions I go to. But the reason I bring that up was because there's a impaling sequence. They had to bring the actress into the court to prove that they did not kill her. It was so realistic. If you look it up online, you had to go into court and prove that no, they did not kill me. That's not real. He did get arrested for a lot of other things because there's a lot of, unfortunately, animal cruelty in the movie. So that's a different story. But
I heard about that. Yep.
That part's true, but the part where the actress had to go into court to prove that no, she's really not dead. If you see the scene, it looks, because it's basically the original Blair Witch. They go into the jungle, they find this lost footage, and they're trying to backtrack with what's going on. It's a really good movie and very realistic. It's another one of those Italian movies that really don't have any guidelines of what they can do or what they cannot do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The other example I want to bring up is, I'm sure you heard of Larry Cohen. He's a director from the 70s. He made a lot of movies, but he never would get permits. And there's a documentary on him. I don't know if you have Shudder. Shudder's
I've had it before. I don't have it now, but I've seen movies on there. Yeah.
Okay. There's a documentary on there, and do you know who Fred Williamson is? He was a former football player, and he played in a lot of the exploitation movies of the 70s. Anyway, he did a lot of movies with him, and he was saying that they would just film scenes. An example would be they were having a shootout in an airport, but they didn't tell anybody that they were filming a movie. And Fred Williamson said, people are freaking out. And he was telling the cameraman, film the people, look at their faces, they think it's real. And they're running around the airport with all these guns shooting at each other. Just stuff that you can never, ever get away with now. But
no. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I do hear a lot of stories like that, but I love the way you do it. You go down there, you do it right, you get permission. Most of the people, I would imagine, it's like, oh, really cool. I'd love to have my place in a movie. I mean, I can't imagine a lot of people saying, get out of here. Then most people love free publicity.
Yeah, they do, and we've been really thankful. A lot of the people that we talk to about what we're going to do, they don't mind us in there. The only thing that was surprising to some people is in Providence, Federal Hill, and there's mafia ties, real mafia ties in Providence. But East Providence is kind of like the baby city. Nothing really goes on with that we know about. But in the opening sequence, I talk about owning the city hall, the cops, and we were afraid that the real mayor would have a problem with putting a bad tilt on the East Providence. But like anything else, it's fictitious.
Yeah.
There is one scene in there that's not kind of easy on the eyes. Basically, the dialogue goes, I'm Tony Martone. I own the cops. I own City Hall. I even own the mayor's private parts. And then the next thing, he's on the bed with the mayor's wife, and he slaps her, and then he starts doing her, and she throws the pillar and knocks the picture frame. They're in the mayor's house. The picture frame of the mayor and her falls down the ground, smashes, and he goes, you bang better basically than the mayor. So I mean, that's a little harsh, but I wrote it. It's in there. And when we played it at the premiere, people were dying. They were laughing at that line, and they really loved it. There's a lot of twists in Tony Martone. We got a lot of just like people screaming like, whoa, like just a lot of you're in the theater. This is like no other theater experience. I mean, these people are just pumped. So we're getting people like, yo, and what? Especially at the end. The end is whew. So yeah, a lot of love. I heard best mob movie, and so we did submit it for a best mob production in a film festival in Green Bay, which is one of the cleanest cities I've ever been to. I've been there before. This film festival that is just great. Freddie is just great down there, his guys and people. So I submitted that yesterday, and for best mafia production. So if we get that, we'll be invited to Green Bay in September for going up against for the best production mob category, which is voted by the judges. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Well, good luck, and hopefully next time I can have you on the show and say congratulations.
Absolutely.
Did you submit it to any other of the film festivals?
No, I mean, not yet. That was my first one. I'm going to look at some of the bigger ones. I want to hit the problem with a lot of them, you got to be careful because a lot of them have rules. Like if it's on Prime or if it's showing, they don't want you to. A lot of them want them to be the first one to show it. So a lot of the big ones, I can't really get in. I don't really want to wait on the release of it, so that's why I released it. But there are a lot of big ones that they don't really care about that rule. So we're going to just submit to as many as we can at this point.
Did you ever try to submit to Cannes?
It has crossed my mind. I got to see what their rules are as far as what they want. If it's then you can kind of get away with it too, because a lot of them even say if you had like a premiere, you're ineligible. But it's the way you spin it. You can say I had a test screen, and if they don't really check, you might be okay. But if they check, But so there's things like that you can do. But generally speaking, if it's out, they really want to be the first one. So I got to check on that.
I mean, look at Clerks won it one year back in '94. Yeah. So I mean, a movie that was filmed on a VHS camera that was, so ancient compared to what you record with now. So I think unfortunately I could be wrong, but I think it's probably a lot more politicized now. And it's a little bit harder to get films in there than it was back in the 90s, maybe even early 2000s.
Yeah, I'm sure you're probably right on that. And especially ones like that, it depends on the ones, they can cost, $100, $200, $500, $1,000 to submit it. Some of them, like the big ones, they got a huge cost. So it's just really finding the right ones that fit your budget where you want to go with it,
If you do a Kickstarter, I'll donate some money for you to get you down to Cannes. That's my goal.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure all my Claw's Corner viewers will do the same for you. We'd love to see you down there
with some awards. Absolutely. Yes.
Actually, speaking of mob ties in Providence, correct me if I'm wrong. I was doing my research on you, and I heard that one of your actors has some real mob ties.
You're right. He wasn't in this one. I worked with him before. His father was, I forget he had a name. He killed a lot of people. I mean, he was actually really the son of this guy. And when I first met him, I didn't know this. He was telling me the story. I guess he's like a chef. He's a chef. So he was just telling me. But he's a big guy, very intimidating, and he was telling me the story of it. And you never know who you're going to run into. So we run into guys that are, really well connected. We've run into, just a wide variety of, people and inspiring what they want to do, and we have a lot of actors that are just, full-time actors like Gio Toscani. I mean, he's run by Kevin Green, who's a big agent, and he's all over the place. He was in LA he was on, I think, what did he tell me? One of the big sets down there, CBS, Paramount, a lot of meetings, and he travels. He goes to Serbia, all over, doing international films. He's doing all these big things, and he's waiting for another one with me. He just love the experience, and so we get a lot of these great people out there that want to do these big things, and they really appreciate my writing, and I think that's great to be acknowledged for.
Oh, definitely, because you can't have a movie without good writing. Unless you're Jurassic Park.
Unless you're Jurassic Park. Yeah, that's totally true. That is totally true. And the people with watching Martone, there's a lot of backstory that was not in the original script. I actually wrote it. I wrote it a little later on because I wanted to put a little bit more of the flair into the backstory of Ray Amato when he was in New York. So a lot of the scenes, when you watch the movie, there's going to be a scene where they're in like this cabin. It's supposed to be like in New York, like his safe house. And he's got an FBI agent in there. This was all written a little bit later, not really intended for the original script, but I wrote it after because I wanted this backstory to come in. And I think it ties in so nice. And we filmed that in Reading, Pennsylvania, at the film studio called Reading Film Studios. It had all these pre-built sets, beautiful place. Kudos to Toby Moore, Danny Feynman, who have access to this. So we got a lot of these great sets to do that in there. And there's a lot of killing going on. So you'll see that scene, that first 3 to 8 minutes. I mean, it's going to be one hell of a show.
I'm looking forward to seeing this movie. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to talk about Tony Martone still because my mind just went blank on this. So I'm going to go back to that. We'll go to another question. I had a really earth-shattering question for you, and I will get to it soon. But I know that when we talked about last time, so I've had your show several times, we talked about Joe McGee Productions and how it all got started. But let's do a refresher course of this because I don't think we talked about this last time. You do a lot. You don't just make films with Joe McGee Productions. You offer some great services such as photos, videos, you edit media, contracts, you offer demo reels, you do production help. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, originally when I founded, it's on my hat right here. You can see it, McGee Productions, right? So when I founded this back in 2017, it was originally just because, I wanted to bring my writing out visually, but I've done more now. I'm taking on other contracts. I actually have a big contract coming up in about a week. Well, I mean, depending on when this is out, on July 18th, I'll be in Greensboro, North Carolina, filming with Tom Sizemore, who was in Saving Private Ryan, where I'm filming a movie. I'm a contract. I'm the director of photography. I'm going to be filming for them with Tom Sizemore for a movie called Mob Humor. It's a mob comedy with Tom Sizemore. So I'm really pumped for that. So I'm just getting a lot of attention. People know who I am. And the director, really nice asking me about that. She asked me multiple times, the first time I was just really busy, focused on Martone. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. And then she asked me again a month later. I'm like, I'm almost closer. I'm not. Then she asked me again, very persistent, but I finally said yes because I got what I needed to do done. I took the contract, and now I'm going to be out there in middle July. So I'm going to be doing that.
Well, congratulations on that. And it just came to me because we were talking about the movie. It all starts with good writing. And I remember when I talked to you last time for the movie The Harvard Psychologist, you said you actually wrote it as a novel first. So the question is do you normally write how you work now? Do you write screenplays exclusively, or do you write the novel and then turn it into a screenplay, then into a film?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started off, it was exactly like that. As I would do a novel and then I would adapt into a screenplay. This point in stage where I'm just really, really busy back-to-back projects, I'm just really focusing on screenplays only right now. just because of the way. I mean, there's so many differences where, with a novel, you get a lot of formatting, you get another proofreader, you got your margins, you got all this cover work, different cover artwork. Screenplay, it's just very, very simple, very easy. So I'm kind of going to that area now. It's just going to be strictly just screenplays. I have 2 projects of my own in the works. One's called Article 92. It's we're going to be scouting that soon. It's kind of like a military drama. It's got some sci-fi on it. It's basically about there's this guy who's think of like rock and roll guy, long hair. He's very sad. He's in his car. Think like a Camaro, Firebird, or something. And he's pounding back some beers. The radio's on. Sees a flashlight coming on. His car stalls out. It's like, what the heck? So, and then he sees some movement up ahead. And then the car comes back on. Well, a UFO flew over, and that's why it went out. And his headlights come on. Guess what he sees in front of him? The military moving an alien across the highway. So he's like, oh, shit. So they basically chase him down. They bring him into questioning. It's a Homeland Security problem. They question him. So the movie really is about following lawful and unlawful orders. That's what Article 92 is in the military code. So there's an order where Homeland Security, they think, they know better that this guy's going to snitch. He knows, media contacts. So they give basically one of the privates a lawful order to kill him. Well, he's like, yeah, it's not really a lawful order. That's unlawful. I can't. It's like, yeah, you're in the military. You're out there and in the boots, and somebody gives you an order to kill. Whether there's collateral damage or not, you're going to do it. And he's just going back. He's got a friend in military law. They're going back and forth. Well, he decides he's not going to do it. So there's that climax, and I'm not going to say what happens later, but that one's coming soon. That's going to be a pretty intense one. And then I have When the Sun Dies, which I've been trying to film for quite some time, but we've had COVID setbacks in Tony Martone and this and that. So that one's like a sci-fi end of the world kind of biker gang and saving the sun or your son. So the metaphor is saving the sun, S-U-N, or my son, S-O-N. His son is dying. There'll be a point in time where he can save his son by getting this medicine. There's a bunker where this guy is, or he can save the sun about nuclear fusion. There's a way to make an artificial sun, but if he does that, his son's going to die. S-O-N. So there's just all these things going on. So I'm excited for those 2 projects.
Yeah, I think last time you were on the show, you were talking about that one. You were just starting that. Which was 2 years ago. So I love
that was in post-production 2 years ago. It's still in post-production.
Oh, okay, so you're towards the end of it. So I remember we were talking about it, and you said you were working on. So you know what though, I love the fact that you have so many ideas that you never have to worry about running any out of ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is your favorite genre to write, direct, produce, act, all of the above? Do you have a favorite?
That is a great question. I've kind of dabbled into a lot. I've done psychological thrillers. I've done psychological horrors. I've done a mafia film now. I've done just historic fictions. There's one particular one. You know this about me. I like to blend comedy. I want to do a strictly comedy. I really appreciate the comic genius. Think like it's funny in a way, but like Home Alone, for example. The writing, John Hughes.
John Hughes is the best.
Yeah.
He's done. I don't care what people say.
Brilliant.
He's so commercialized, but every movie he made has heart. It's hilarious.
That's what I mean.
Story.
I want to dabble into a comedy, whether it's more like in tune with that, or maybe it's more like in tune with more like a kind of like a dark, gritty comedy or slapstick comedy, or like a Tommy Boy or Black Sheep or something like that. There's always different ways to go.
Well, I like the fact that you're not pigeonholed into one genre. So you can say, all right, I'm going to do some sci-fi today. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a mob movie. Next week. So I love the fact that, because it seems like in any genre, any type of success that people have, be it writers, directors, actors, they're always pigeonholed into what made them popular. Like, all right, Jim Carrey is always going to be a comedian. He tries a serious role. Oh my God, he's horrible. And then try to think of writers. I can name 4 or 5 that I've had on the show that said, every time I wrote a new book, they wanted me to write the same book with a different title. And the same thing with directors. Like you came out with like a action movie, all of a sudden you're known as the action guy. It's like, no, I have a lot of other ideas. So I love the fact that you're not sticking this early in your career where you're saying, I'm going to try everything.
Yeah, just like one of my admirers who passed away, I mentioned his name before, Tony Scott, True Romance. He did Top Gun. He did what's that movie? He did that race car movie with Tom Cruise. What the hell?
Thunder.
Yep. Again, very different than like an action movie. So he's dabbled into other areas as well.
Last Boy Scout was great too. I love that movie.
Last Boy Scout with Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis is one of my favorites as well. I just love like, hey, why did Milo cross the road? Like the chicken joke, and and the goons come out. Hey guys, you should get home. The streetlights are on. They're like, oh, we're getting beat up by the inventors of Scrabble or whatever. Just like funny humor but action. And it's one of my favorite movies is The Last Boy Scout, and I do like True Romance, which was a Tony Scott film with Christian Slater. Brad Pitt was in it. I mean, Christopher Walken, James Hopkins. Well, just so many people. And what I really liked about that movie is it's on one of my top lists of, hey, I know I'm gonna die. What's something I can do, a big FU moment where I'm gonna piss you off so bad that I want you to kill me? Where Hopkins told Christopher Walken that his grandparents were spawned by, you know what I'm gonna say?
Yes,
right?
I do know.
It's just unparalleled. I mean, that writing was just genius. I mean, just genius,
Not you know who wrote it, right? Quentin Tarantino wrote the script.
Yeah, and he sold it. Yeah.
Yeah, he sold it. But did you know the story with the ending? Because Quentin Tarantino usually, I like the fact that he is more with realism, and Christian Slater's character is supposed to die. When he gets shot in the eye, he said, "There's no way he's gonna live." About that. And the producer said, "There's no way the main character is gonna die." So Roger Avery, who helped him with the script, and he helped with Pulp Fiction as well, rewrote the ending where it made Christian Slater live at the end, which I like the ending, but if you want to be realistic, there's no way he would have survived that shot to the head.
What I think it's because in this time and world is and I'm gonna label it, but we want the good guys to live. I mean, we don't want a sad ending, and we want to do it for the people. So I definitely think that's why they did it, is they wanted it to be not a sad ending. They wanted to give it, hey, there's still hope. This guy's having a kid or something at the end when he got shot up or whatever. Yeah,
named Elvis.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, that's
what's great. You're working with Tom Sizemore, who was also in the movie, so you can talk to him all about it.
Patricia Arquette did a hell of a job in there. I mean, there's so many people, so much talent in that movie.
Brad Pitt was. Here's what I like about Brad
stoner,
Pitt.
Yeah.
Yes, what I like about Brad Pitt is he can play the stoner, he could play the burnout, he could play the crazy killer like he did in California with David Duchovny, which is a great movie. But then he could play the leading man and also the supporting character Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I love the fact that he is just so talented that anything you give him, he can play. It's similar to not Val Kilmer. I liked him during his time, but Christian Bale. Christian Bale to me is like one of the best actors of this generation because every movie he does, he's a chameleon. He becomes that character. And so I like actors like that, and Brad Pitt is one of them where you throw him in any role, and there you are. Okay, would you get a phone call?
Yeah, no, I had a little battery warning. I'm on my phone, so that's okay. I just had to tap it, and I'm like, "Where'd you go?"
All right. Well, if we die, we'll have to have a part 2 of this because I have plenty more things to talk about.
And Gary Oldman was in True Romance too. Another good actor.
Yes, I always. It's funny. I always forget about him, but then when I think about his body of work, I mean, just 2 examples would be Churchill in that movie where he played Winston Churchill, but they played Sid Vicious. Then he plays the president of the United States with Harrison Ford. So yeah, he is another guy that just you throw him in anything, and he is so unrecognizable in that movie.
I know. I like his look though. He looked like such a badass. He really did. I really love that look. I mean, they did a heck of a job with everything on that. I really loved it. Even the remember the kung fu references and eating pie and all that. That was all good.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just like another one that he wrote and I love, and I know that he didn't like. Well, actually, it's funny. He didn't like both scripts or both versions of it, but Natural Born Killers is another one that Tarantino
Yep.
wrote that. I love the movie version of it. I think was it Oliver Stone that directed that, right?
Yeah, Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job with it. He had, Rodney Dangerfield, all these different things. And we're like, what the hell is going on here? When I first time I saw it, but it's just a fun, crazy movie, and I think that I love movies that are unconventional. Like they're not following the norm, like we talked about, where everybody wants the happy ending. An example you brought up where people do want the happy ending. Did you ever see the movie The Mist? It's a Stephen King novel.
It's funny. I don't know how you're getting in my head, but I'm actually in the process of watching that. I'm in I'm only on the part where so like the grocery store, the tentacles are like coming in, and then like these creatures were like staining the necks and they're flying off, and so I'm only like around there. But I just started dabbling into that movie like the other day.
That's funny. All right, I'm not gonna say a word. After you see it, please message me, because
there's
a reason I bring this movie up, and there's a reason. And all I'm gonna say is, people on the way out, I didn't know. I was actually walking into the theater, seeing it. People were screaming, yelling. They were
really
pissed off. You'll find out why. That's all I'm gonna say. I love the movie. I saw it 4 times, and I own it on DVD. And the best part about the DVD is that it has the black and white version along with the color version, because it's supposed to be like a 50s horror movie. They make it like,
yeah.
It's such a, and actually I can't remember his name right now, but the director of that movie, to me, did all of the best Stephen King adaptations.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So people always think of like Stephen King as horror, but to me, the guy is so much more than horror. There's so many great things that he's written. That Shawshank Redemption is another one that's a great example. It's not horror. The Green Mile.
There's just so many other ones that just do a great job with like those oddball. Like you have J.J. Abrams, and you have M. Night Shyamalan. The sci-fi, just those just dark kind of movies. I enjoy those too.
Yeah. Well, I heard you mention in the past that you like you mentioned on this show as well, psychological horror, and one movie you brought up was High Tension.
Correct. Yeah, it's a French movie.
Love them. Yes.
For me, so if I'm ever going to do a movie, and I hate to say it like this, but if I'm doing a horror movie, how many horror movies do you know have a plot where someone's chasing them, whether in their cabin, they're teenagers, they're in the woods, they're at a gas station, something happens, they get chased, they get abducted, they get tortured, and they get killed. I mean, that's basically the plot of it, and it works okay. But with High Tension, which is a U.S. title, it's Hot Tension in French, it's more than that, because as you're watching it, you're like, yeah, this is kind of weird, but they reveal what happens with that character, the twist of it, where you don't know, like, I'm not going to say what it is, but I mean, that twist was just earth changing for me, because it gave the film more dimension, where when you're watching it, like all these bad things are happening, and, with, just some of the stuff they use, I think they used, was a chainsaw or something on the windshield, and just all kinds of stuff. But when they revealed what was really happening, you need that twist. You can't just have a movie where someone's being chased and there's no twist. That's what I like about that movie. Yeah. There's that element where you don't know what's happening, then it's revealed, and it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Well, another example was, there's a foreign movie entitled The Vanishing. They made an American version with Kiefer Sutherland. In the original foreign version, they find the body in the trunk, the movie's over. In the American version, of course, they open up the trunk and there's a daughter. Oh, hi, Daddy. Thank you very much for saving me. So they had to Americanize it, and it was a lot less dark. I like both movies, but if you want the gritty and raw, go see the original.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you're absolutely right about that. Is I don't understand why the acceptance of either killing or humor is so more adaptable in like the United Kingdom or the UK. Like, for example, even commercials in the UK, they're more raunchy. Like many years ago, I mean, they still have ones today, but there's I think it was Blank Pro. It's a audio like a cassette player. That's I'm probably butchering the name, but they have a video in the UK where they have these stuffed animals in the back along with the speakers, and it's just pounded. It's making these animals come on top of each other like they're doing the dirty deeds. But in America, they would never show something like that. And then they have this RAV4 commercial where you know, these couples are doing things, or they're trying to get the car keys, or it's like a Home Alone scene where they're getting throwing buckets at each other, lighting their hair on fire. And of course, we did that in the USA. You know, we'd be frowned upon. We have no humor. That's the problem here.
Well, I can tell you how bad it's gotten. I mean, I think to me, social media has made it way worse. And I'm going to give you one example. I was laughing so hard when I saw this. I'm sure you know the show Wheel of Fortune with Vanna White, Pat Sajak.
Yep.
They had an opera singer on the show. So he asked her, he goes, "Oh, are you an opera buff?" She goes, "No, I'm not really a big opera fan." He goes, "Have you ever listened to Opera in the Buff?" And people are, "Oh my God, he should be fired immediately. What is this? Wheel of Fortune After Dark?"
Oh,
really?
geez.
That is what offends you? Are you that much of a snowflake that you can't take? Where he didn't even say anything. All he did was take the words and switch them. Opera buff.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So yeah, unfortunately, there's way too many kids, and I don't. You know what I think it is, and you and I can have a whole other show about this. I think the problem with, in America anyway, kids have it the easiest they've ever had it. They have it made, and they're looking for something to rebel against. They don't really know what to rebel against because their life is so easy. It's probably the best they've ever had. They're living at home. They're getting 3 square meals a day. They don't really have to work because mommy takes care of them. And then they're like, what can, not in the 60s when they're burning bras, in the 70s when they're civil rights. Now it's all about, I can't believe he said Opera in the Buff.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's a lot of that. Do you find that in your movie? I'm sure people that like your movies know your sense of humor. And has anybody ever walked out of a movie and said, "I can't believe you did that, Joe"?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, there was, I might have mentioned this before on another show, but I'm not sure. But the only problem I had is a woman's point of view and a man's point of view can be different. And what I mean by that is taking offense to something. In my book, The White House is Fake, I wrote a scene that basically Nelson Conrad was trying to have his friend shut down a power grid, but he needed to make up a story that sounded very convincing to a man that it would be something that would be offensive, that, oh yeah, this is bad, I need to do something about it. So what I wrote about is he's telling his friend, "Hey, my friend's mom was out there and she was driving by. She saw a car seat in the woods. She decided to stop. She went over there. There's like a doll in the car seat, and she got beat the heck out of by these guys, and they took off. Nobody found them. So when I was writing this, the woman editor's like, "Yeah, I don't like that. These cops didn't do anything, and it's very offensive. Why don't we change it to they were throwing water balloons and her car went off the road?" I'm like, "Really, water balloons?" And no, I'm leaving it. So my point of view and a woman's point of view of what's acceptable or offensive, it's very subjective. And this is how I see it about perspectives and point of views. Is it's very kind of a weird way to vision this, but think about this: is when the Titanic sank many years ago, human lives, big tragedy for everyone, but for the lobsters in the ship's kitchen, they're free. Their point of view is different than our, you know what I mean? So it's subjective, opinionated, and that's what I see a lot in today's world.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Unfortunately, no matter what you do, you cannot please everybody, and I wouldn't even try. It was like, for the things that I do anyway, like I don't try. When I was doing comedy, people used to get mad at me because I have cerebral palsy, as you know, and I would make jokes about it. "Oh my God, you can't make fun of that." I'm like, you know what? If you don't like it, just walk out. I really don't care. I don't want you in the show. It's like, there's plenty of other people that do like me. So just move along. That's why I always said there's an on and off switch for everything. If you don't like the show, turn it off or change the channel. You don't have to sit there and watch it for 45 minutes and complain about every little thing that you saw and offended you. So there's too much of that, where I think more people watch it when they are offended because they want to see what's going to offend them, than people who actually like it are just enjoying it. I like the fact that you're really just, that's the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is, get over it.
I don't know if you saw this though, because we were talking about foreign movies a little bit. There's a movie I saw, I want to say it's French, and it was called, I could be mispronouncing it, but it was called Titane. It's about a woman that gets pregnant by a car. It's great. It was up for an Oscar. for best foreign film, and it really deserved it. It's one of those movies. I swear to God, I'm going to tell you about the director because I looked her up afterwards and I saw another movie she made, and it's just as good. But I went to the movie theater. I said, "What the hell is this?" And like I said, I'm an A-lister, so I get to see all these movies for quote unquote free and $25. So I said, let me check it out. And I'm watching it. So I'm like, it's one of those movies like, what the hell is going on? Do I like? Yeah, I like it. I have to see what's going to happen next. And it just kept my interest the whole movie. And she's a dancer. She's dancing on the car. All of a sudden she gets started bigger and bigger. And she gives birth to, I'm not even. And so I looked up the director. Her name is Julia. I could be pronouncing this name incorrectly as well. It's Ducournau, Ducournau. And and believe it or not, and I want to talk to you about this because there's one video store left. It's called Hamden Best Video.
I've been there. You know what? It's funny you mentioned that. I've actually been there many years ago because at the time, I mean, I haven't been there in years, but when I did go there, I mean, their VHS selection is just unheard of. You can find a lot, because the big problem too is I'm a movie buff, you are, the problem is there's a lot of even movies now that aren't even circulated to DVD. So you got to find them on VHS. And when I went in there, I mean, this place was huge. I've been there before. I haven't been there in years, but I remember taking out a couple of VHS tapes at the time. I even think I took it out when I had a DVD player, but I purposely, I don't remember what I was watching or wanted, but I purposely got these movies because they were not available on DVD yet.
What I love about them, it's funny because I went down there for the first time maybe 2 years ago, for the first time in a long time, and they said, "Oh, you're still on file." I said, "I'm still on file," and they looked at they said, "Oh, you have a credit card in the system that expires in 1994." I said, "Wow, you really keep your records for life." But they have a system now where I pay $10 a month. I have unlimited rentals. I can rent it, keep the movie as long or as short as I want, rent as many as I want in a month, and they did this several times for me. I looked up a movie. I said, "Do you have it?" Not yet. Next thing I get a call 2 days later, "Rich, your movie's in." The reason I bring it up for you was because they have a local section, and they have all the local directors, filmmakers. Really? And I wanted to talk to you. I think you should get your movies down there because there's a lot of great local filmmakers that are featured there. They have a whole section just for that. And I think you would do very well there. And just people would they can rent it and then let you know if they saw it. And then I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure you can also buy the movies as well if you want. I have to
go back there. It's been quite some time, but that place was reminding me of many years ago. There was Tommy K's in Waterbury, which went out, but I mean, kind of like that. I mean, they were the big deal. I mean, the Hamden store is very, very large, but I mean, Tommy K's had a good selection. When they were out there, but. Just all these forgotten places, they're still out there.
I love Hamden Best Video because not only do they offer movies, which, believe it or not, it still does well, but then they have a cafe. Then they also have events there. I've seen bands there. I perform comedy there. Believe it or not, they have a nice little, in the summer, they have it outside in the patio. They have bands. I did comedy inside. They have a room there. It's a really nice place. And the people there are very knowledgeable and they have very eclectic taste. So anything that you want, and if it's available, they will get it for you if they don't already have it.
Wow. So, okay. Good to know.
What they need now are some Joe McGee movies. That's the only thing they don't have.
Yeah, maybe they'll find me on file, and that happened to me when I went to, the doctor. Like, I don't go to the doctor often, but, because I just, I usually am okay. But I think it was 2-3 years ago, I had like bronchitis. Well, my cough was so bad, I needed to go. I didn't want to go, but I was just, putting it off. And I went down to my doctor, who actually I found out moved because I haven't been there so long. And so I followed him to his new place, and I went in there. They go, "Hey, Joe, I found your file, but it's a paper file. We're in the computer now, and you're not in the computer. You haven't been here in 10 years. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't go to the doctor often, So they had to enter all my information from the paper file into their computer system.
That's funny. Yeah, no, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to go down there and say, there's this great director. He has a lot of great movies. I'm going to mention your name. I'm going to say, you need to get his movies in there. And what I can do is, if you want, I can give them your phone number and you can give it to me off the air. I might already have it. Either way, or your email, and I will have them get in touch with you because I'm going to say, He just had a great premiere. I'll show them the pictures on Facebook. The people are very, very, it's not a corporate type of place. It's not like Blockbuster was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're friendly
back,
only.
You know?
Yeah. They are very open-minded to everything. And even it's funny because they always thank me like, I want to thank people like you who bring stuff to my attention that I never even knew of. And I said, vice versa. I said, a lot of times they'll come in and like, all right, what should I watch today? And they'll give me, and that's how I found out about that movie. Well, Titane, I saw in the theater, but then I went back to Hand Invest Video and she had another movie and it's called Raw. And it's going to sound weird and cliche, but it's done so well. You got to check this director out. The kid's a vegetarian. Her father is really mean. He forces her to eat meat. She turns into some kind of zombie and just starts killing people, but it's done in such a great way. It's not a cliched type horror movie. It's done very well, very unique. So it's just I was wondering if you saw that because that's probably one of my favorite foreign movies, or maybe one of my best films of last year. And it's
I haven't seen that.
What is this? Yeah.
One of the other ones I was watching over another French movie I like. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I love it. Crimson Rivers is a really good one. It's got what's that French actor's name? Reno Jacoy.
Is it John Reno? No, Jean. No.
Yeah, him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in there, which he's a very known actor. He does a lot of American movies too, but he's in there, and it's just kind of like this kind of gritty, kind of like horror movie, but it's done so well. They did a sequel, but that is worth checking out. Crimson Rivers 1 and 2. I think they're either late 90s or early 2000s, something like that, but very, very, very done very well.
Right. I'm gonna have to check it out. And the other one, it's funny, is I think it was right when it was coming out as I was interviewing you. It's a movie from Korea. It's called Parasite.
I remember you talking about that. It's been on, I think it's on, because I have like most of the streaming of Hulu. I think it's on Hulu. I'm pretty sure it is. I just haven't gotten to it. I've been wanting to watch it since you told me about it.
Right.
I have not seen it yet, though.
Funny because I think maybe it would happen right after I talked to you, where I said, well, I hope it wins at least best foreign film. I would love for it to win best picture of the year, but there's no way it's ever going to win. I went downstairs and came back up. It won. And I said, this is the first time ever where I saw a movie that I think deserved to win actually won. It's crazy. It's out of control, but it's done so well. The acting is, I can't remember his name, the director, but he's done a lot of big movies that you would know. But Parasite to me is his magnus opus because that's where it all came together. So I've seen his other movies and they're really good, but this one, it's going to be tough to top this one. I think.
I'll have to check that out. I'll definitely check that out.
Joe, I know your phone's going to die soon, but it's great talking to you as always.
Yeah.
And please, you have carte blanche for the show. Anytime you want to come back, anytime you want to promote something, or even if you just want to talk about movies, I can talk about movies all night. So.
Oh yeah, me too.
Actually, would you have a little bit more time before your phone dies?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I got one bar we could try. We'll see how far we can go. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So the reason I ask is I'm curious about this because growing up, let's see how it changed. Growing up, who was your biggest influence in filmmaking?
Growing up, that is a good question. I mean, I just watched, when I was a kid, I still have a social life. I go out, party, whatever. But, I would always, I acquired just hundreds of movies throughout high school and just seeing lots of different things, but probably back then, I can go several different ways because I was when I was in high school, I was in a lot of action movies. Like I really loved, like action, like I think Brian De Palma, I would say, would be probably high on my list then because he just did so many great films. I think it really, for me, it started with the action type movies, for me.
Yeah. For me, I think I want to say definitely Sam Raimi. I just love the old Evil Dead movies. I love his mix of horror and humor. And so I love how he developed. I mean, to me, one of my favorite movies is Simple Plan, which if anybody saw that movie, they would never, ever guess it was the guy that did Evil Dead. But now, since he's done Spider-Man and Doctor Strange recently, which is funny because I'm sort of superheroed out. I'm really not into superhero movies anymore. To me, it's like the same recycled formula over and over again, my personal opinion. But I saw that one, and he just brings back all the horror elements. And of course, growing up, I'm older than you. I was born in '68, so Spielberg was just starting. I love Jaws. I love Close Encounters. And so for now, like, do you have a favorite filmmaker either up and coming or somebody that is maybe established but they're fairly new?
You know, I mean, I'm always and always will be Quentin Tarantino. He's always you know, but for me, from one of my he doesn't do a lot of you know, a lot of movies that he's done lately. He does a lot of like master classes and teaching. I think he has a couple films in the works, but for me, David Lynch, you know, when especially Lost Highway, when Robert Blake was in there. I mean, when he, you know, had that problem with the murder and all that, but you know, David Lynch, Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, just even David Cronenberg, which I think did Videodrome and Existence, which are another two of my favorite. So them guys are definitely, and then we have Del Toro, Pan's Labyrinth, Devil's Backbone, which a lot of people haven't seen. I'd recommend that. This was before Pan's Labyrinth. I think even he did Hellboy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, all them guys are just, I mean, I like the oddball ones, you know?
Oh, me too. It's funny because I was going to mention David Lynch, and it's almost like you and I could have a whole conversation without even saying a word. So we both know what we're thinking, because I was going to bring up David Lynch, and I love, it's funny because one of my favorite scenes, I always remember the scene when I saw Lost Highway, was when they went up to Robert Blake and said, "You have a phone call. Who is it?" "It's you." I was like, whoa.
Oh, I know. And I love the echoing of that, just when he's laughing and that's penetrating, and but just it's just such a great movie. I mean, they don't make movies like that anymore. I mean, then the Corporation with, I think they did a lot of Marilyn Manson, like I Put a Spell on You is on there. Yeah. So what is it? Sound of Siren, when they're in the desert, the love scene and blah blah blah. But I mean, so even for a film like that, but just the musical idea of what they wanted, I think worked really well too. But the great lines, the acting, and who's isn't Pullman in that? Isn't he in that? Yeah,
Pullman's in it. Henry Rollins is in it.
Yep. Great movie. That's one of my favorites, and I think they just put that on Blu-ray, because I have the regular DVD. But a friend of mine not too long ago put a picture. It's on Blu-ray now, which I got to check out, because I love. And I don't think that's streaming anywhere. I mean, I haven't looked, but I mean, movies like that, they're just, you know, they're amazing.
What I like about him is when people say, "What the hell is this about?" He goes, "The movie's up to interpretation. I want you to make up your own ending or make up your own mind on that." And he said that for several of his movies, and I just love that, because I just sit back and just enjoy it. I'm not looking so deep into it to go, "Oh my God, I'm going to figure this out." It's like, I don't even try to figure out David Lynch movies. I think I just find them enjoyable, and it's great entertainment. And it's just like, this is like, what'd you think of Eraserhead?
Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, that kind of reminds me of another one who makes oddball movies. Another director, Takashi Miike, who did Ichi the Killer. He did, what's the other one? The Deadly Outlaw, Rekka, and all kinds of different ones. So, I mean, you know, they have those weird styles. I think he even did Gozu, which, have you seen Gozu?
That one I haven't. I know of it. I haven't seen it.
Oh my God. It's just so weird about reincarnation and coming out of a crotchal area. I don't want to get into it, but I mean, it's these movies, I mean, they're just, you know, way right field, but I mean, they have a following, and they're so different, you know, you know, they're very, very different, you know, they have a following, but they're very, very different, you know?
I do. Well, unfortunately, I did see the phone blinking, so I will let you go. I want you back on the show again. We definitely have a lot more to talk about. Joe, I do have a favorite up-and-coming director. His name is Joe McGee. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Have a good night, and I will send you the info for the best video, the best video, okay?
Oh, most definitely. Have a great night.
You too.
That wraps up the latest episode of The Claw's Corner. A huge thanks goes out to actor, writer, director, and producer Joe McGee for coming back to the show to talk about his latest project and whatever else comes to mind, as you can see. I also need to thank John Bristol of Elmwood Productions for always doing a superb job editing this show and making it available to all each and every week. And lastly, but definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Rich Sear. 5 terrifying short stories, now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
All of a sudden I hear, brim, brim.
What's a diaphragm again?
Ha! We caught one.
They're supposed to be weird.
Oh, yeah, no. If you say so.
I've always wanted to be in a movie.
Waiting around for autumn, waiting around for autumn.